So imagine you're at rehearsal, right? And somebody says, that's not how they do that on the recording. Right? And a fight ensues, the fists come out, they start typing in all caps. Not really, no, you guys are Christians, you don't do that. But let me ask you this question, well, two questions. How did you feel when somebody says that? That tells you something. Did you just throw up in your mouth? Oh. I know who you are, Jen. But here's a more interesting question. Why do you think they said that? What was motivating them? We're going to talk a lot about motivation today, so just to put that on your radar screen. So it could be lots of different options why somebody would say that's not how they did it on the recording. It might be that they're thinking, man, this recording captures a certain energy. There's a certain beauty in what we hear in this recording. The way the sounds just came together, oh man, that was just, let's do it like that. But it could be that they said that because, well, listen, man, the team is going to feel thrown off if we do it differently than the recording. And I don't want to throw off my team. I want them to feel comfortable. But it also could be that, this arrangement on the recording allows our hearts to do a deep dive with God. And if we do the radio edit, it's just not going to work. It's just, we can't do that. Or maybe you said that, or somebody said that because they thought, well, this is the original recording of the song, and it needs to sound like the original recording. Or it could be that, listen, we're following the chord chart here, and this is what you've been working on for weeks. And so this chord chart matches the recording perfectly, and that's what we're going to do, right? It could be a number of different things. But I want you to start thinking about what's motivating you, what's behind the scenes. Why are you doing what you're doing? So here's another scenario to think about in those same terms. Let's say it's 7:12 on a Wednesday. And let's pretend your rehearsals are on Wednesday. How many Wednesday rehearsalers do we have? Wow, Thursday? The majority. Friday? Monday? Yeah, Saturday? And here's the best one, or the Sunday morning only? Right. And everybody say, "Aww." There you go. Feel bad for him. All right, so whenever your rehearsal is, let's say it's 7:12 and your rehearsal started at 7. And Katrina is not there yet. Your friend Katrina. Hopefully there's no Katrinas in the room. If you are, there is. Sorry. All right. It's not personal. It's just a name I chose out of the random blue. So Katrina's not there at rehearsal yet. And what am I thinking? How am I reacting to that? What am I feeling? What's my motivation right now? Well, I can say, well, now that I'm done with the sound check, let's start on the song that she doesn't carry the lead role in. Okay, moving on. Yep, great. I might be thinking, is Katrina okay? Like I just talked to her, I was texting her this afternoon, maybe she needs a break because she's overwhelmed with life. Or maybe she's thinking, come on team, let's keep pressing in. We love you, Jesus, because we're worshiping at the beginning, that's what we do. Or maybe I'm saying, well, I'm wondering how I can help her to manage her time better. I think I might be able to help, Or I might think, man, Katrina is always late. Maybe I need to give her a break because she's messing up my plan. Or maybe get a little bit more personal. It's same night, 7:12 on a Wednesday night, and I'm the one who's late. Right? What am I saying? What am I feeling? I feel frustrated because I'm missing the sound check, and I'm going to have to go with like the whole rehearsal with a terrible monitor mix or whatever. I'm like, come on, it's the worst. It's the worst. Or I might be saying, I feel badly, but I let my leader know and was texting him. Or I might be saying, man, I feel discouraged, but I know the battle won't be won without a fight. We're going to get there anyway. We're going to do this thing. Like the devil can't hold me down. Or I might be saying, I feel like I'm being a bad example. To be late, that's just, I can't be a bad example. Or I might feel glad that I'm so well prepared. And besides, I'll still not be the last one to arrive. I'm banking that Katrina will be after me. So I want to get your thoughts, your brain thinking a little bit of different things that might be possible to motivate us to do certain things or to say certain things, to act certain ways. Because if I'm not aware of what drives me, what motivates my teammates, I won't value what they bring. I won't be able to bring out the best in myself or in them, and I'll just be frustrated by our differences. Anybody ever? You don't need to raise your hand. You can just nod real gently so the person next to you can't quite see. Have you ever been frustrated by each other's difference? Wow. And some people are like, yes, 100%. So imagine for a second a team where everyone understands each other, everyone is the best version of themselves. When you show up, when you're doing your music, when you're preparing, when you're leading, you're the best version of who you are. A team where everybody has learned to put aside their defaults. This is how I normally am or do it, but like, I think my team needs me to do this tonight, and they learn to do that. A team that has common language to work through differences when differences arise, and they are going to arise. Just like we're going to have doubts as Christians, they're going to happen. What are you going to do? Conflicts are going to arise. Do you have language to work through that? What I'm describing to you is what we call a 5 faders team. That is a 5 faders team. It's our development system that gives you the language, the tool, the awareness to unlock who you could become as a team. So the 5 faders reveals that we are driven by one of 5 motivations. Ready? Here they are. Artist, shepherd, priest, educator, and producer. Those are the 5 faders, and as the visual tells you there, the faders in this context is like faders on a soundboard, right? So they go up and down, they move like that. That's the idea. So here's the core of what 5 faders are. I'll share a short phrase for each one. So the artists are those that notice nuance. Say it with me. Artists notice nuance. Very good. Shepherds consider the individual. Say that. Shepherds consider the individual. The third one is priests overflow with simple love and pure devotion to Jesus. That's a longer one. Priests, say with me, overflow with simple love and pure devotion to Jesus. And the last one, the fourth one is educators bring out the best in others. Say with me. Bring out the best in others. And the last one is producers plan to exceed the usual limits. Producers plan to exceed the usual limits. Now take a second and turn to somebody next to you and try to remember one of those phrases and tell it to them, the one that stood out to you the most. Go on. All right. Very good, very good. Now, I want to relieve a little bit of pressure that might be building in this room because some of us love personality tests, like personality test freaks. It's kind of like vegans. Like, how do you know a vegan? Because they're going to tell you. People that love personality tests, have you taken the Enneagram yet? It changed my life. I love the Enneagram. It's awesome. This is built largely on that. But the downside to a lot of personality tests in the way that they're used is that rather than freeing you to become who you are, they box you in. They make you feel like, oh, I guess that's who I am. Well, whoa, right? The 5 faders is not a box. The 5 faders is a roadmap of discipleship to help you become more like Jesus and be the best version of who he made you to be, right? So that's the heart behind this. You know, if you look back at the first example, like why do we that's not how the song goes on the recording. I had to add that on the recording to that. We could see each motivation had a different answer. So the artist was the one that said to that question, it captures the energy of the recording. The sounds that come together are beautiful. The shepherd is the one that said, man, my team might be thrown off and not feel as comfortable if we change something. The priest would have said, man, it's this arrangement that allows our hearts to do a deep dive with God. And if we change that, we might lose that. The educator said, this is the original. We want to stay true to that original. And the producer says, this is the chart has matching the recordings that we're following, and we've been working on this for weeks, because evidently some people plan in advance. Weird. And I'm just going to tell you, the end of the goal for this next few minutes here is to begin to identify in yourself what might be your highest fader and what might be your lowest fader. Because a lot of us are going to have a combination of things, but there's one that will kind of come to the surface, and we're going to explore a lot of things to help you identify that. And also one that's like, you probably broke the fader off years ago. You're like, don't need that one. But actually you do. So just so you know where we're going. So there are a couple of things that are super important about the faders. Thing one is that awareness of who you are is the only way to be a healthy version, because the truth is this, guys, super important. And we're going to look at this. We can be healthy in our expression of this fader, which also means that we can be unhealthy in that expression of our fader. We have a passion. How do we get faders? We have passion. We have, this matters to me. People matter to me. The music matters to me. Meeting with God matters to me. Being well prepared matters to me. Being well equipped matters to me. But what happens is my passions blind me. And I cannot see clearly when I'm blinded by my passion. You've all known people who are just a little bit too passionate about something, and they meant well, but it was kind of like, that was over the top. That was okay. That's what happens with our faders. If we're not aware of what's motivating us, if we don't know that we really deeply care about the nuance of the music, we're probably going to be unhealthy. So we're going to look at that. So that's the first thing. Number two is a value statement. You want to create a great culture on your team, a culture of honor where you're valuing each other, where you're as great with the keyboard player or the drummer or the guitar player as you are with the sound tech, and you're a team. You value what the other person brings. You're not frustrated by their differences, but you've learned to know, I understand that's different than me, but I know what they bring, and so I can create a culture of valuing each other. And number three, and this is really where the rubber meets the road about being a roadmap, is that the 5 faders are a roadmap because we all have all of them. Everybody has at least the propensity to develop skills in any of these 5 faders. All right? So those are the 3 important things, but because the health and unhealth is so important in terms of like how we think about the 5 faders, how we live the 5 faders out, we're going to start there. We're going to start comparing and contrasting a healthy versus an unhealthy of each fader. Ready? So diving in. So what are you laughing at? Was it yourself that you saw up there or one of your teammates? I'm not sure. All right. So the artist, the unhealthy artist, and this is the unhealthy side is always the sad to talk about side, but it's so important. They're the ones that hold the 4-hour rehearsals to do 3 songs. They're the perfectionists. You do 99 things right, you miss one thing, and that's what they point out, that's what they notice. You feel a little stupid and inferior around them often. When you're playing with an artist who's unhealthy, you're on pins and needles. Well, please don't mess up because they're so good, and I just know they care so much. And you didn't make good music when you're feeling that way? No. But that's the unhealthy the unhealthy artist. They are a rock star in the worst sense of that word. But the healthy artist is on the other side, and they're a craftsman. Anybody craftsmen here? Woodworkers, able to do metal work, whatnot? Like, craftsmen are amazing people. They take raw materials and they create things that are beautiful and useful. I used to live next to an apartment where it was like an old wooden, more like cabin apartment, and they had gutted the whole thing, and it was just literally a pile of wood like the size of this half of the stage. It was a huge pile like this tall. Bunch of junk wood in there. And I built furniture out of that. I built stuff that we needed for the apartment because we didn't have stuff. And so I built it from that because that's what craftsmen do. They take stuff that is nobody else wanted and they make something with it. And our teams come into rehearsal, and I'm not saying that this is not just a leader. Anybody on the team can play this role. But I'm going to will my way to helping us be musical, because I care so deeply about it, but I'm going to do it in a way that's going to bring you to life, because I'm a craftsman. I take unprepared musicians, unskilled, maybe you're just starting off. I'm going to take what they have, and I'm going to be like, play these two notes. You can play those two notes, right? Play those two notes. That's what this song needs right there. And then it's going to feel like, it's going to soar. Because I'm a craftsman. That's the healthy artist. Beautiful. The shepherd. The unhealthy shepherd is a gatekeeper. When you walk into certain establishments, there's somebody standing at the door. What establishment are you thinking of? If it's the bar that you go to on Thursdays, just kidding, nobody goes to bars. If it's, this is Lancaster County and people do drink a lot, don't they? I forgot. A lot of craft beer. Sorry. I'm going to stop. But at the seedier places, there's a guy standing there who's built like I am, and they're called a what? Bouncers. A bouncer, yeah. But you can walk into church on Sunday, what do they have standing at the door? Somebody, right? A bouncer. Wrong answer. A greeter, an usher. Hey, do you know where to go? You know where the bathrooms are? I'll show you. Hey, welcome. Thanks for coming. The unhealthy shepherd is so territorial because they care so deeply. Remember, all this is we get unhealthy because we care so much. So it's not bad to care so much. That's not the point. The point is to be healthy in that caring. How do you do that well? So you become so territorial that you can't trust anybody to let them in, and that's why you're a gatekeeper. You're like, man, you could join our team, but we're good. Thank you. You've stopped looking for new people because I don't want to mess up the chemistry. We're good. This is a discipleship making machine, man. Everybody can come in, and if you can't sing, I'm not going to have you sing, but I can find a space and I can find a way to get you involved. But the healthy shepherd, on the contrast, is a true pastor, giving everyone around them, this is huge, a sense of belonging. When you're around these people, you're like, they like me here. I belong here. That is such a gift, you guys. But it's the same motivation. Let that pop your nugget, right? It's the same motivation that keeps people at arm's length that makes you feel like you belong because you care about people. The priest, the unhealthy priest, is a loner because really, after all, this is the vertical connection. So it's just me and Jesus is all we need. Y'all want to come along? Fine, but I'm just going to get lost for hours. And everybody's like, what are we doing? I've never done that. But beyond just being the loner, kind of that, they can be a judge. Quick to be like, we're about Jesus here, and you people are, why aren't you singing? Why aren't you standing there? How dare you fold your arms? Right? Like, we can get judgy in our hearts, like, I don't know what people are thinking, but they don't love Jesus, I'll bet. It's always funner to go a little bit southern. It's my favorite. But the healthy priest is a prophet, and a prophet in this sense. Like, I'm not saying, thus saith the Lord, speak this word of knowledge to you. Like, that's fine, whatever. But you can tell that they've been with God. There's just some people that when you're around them, there's a peace about them. There's something that, like, this person has been with God, and it's good. There's a sense that they know the word. They're so grounded. I have one friend that said, I'm leading worship and I peer into heaven and I see what God is saying and see what God is doing. And I'm like, interesting, cool. I've never done that, but I love that idea. But it's like, I'm not going anywhere that you can't go. I just go there all the time. This is my favorite place. When we're doing worship time together, this is my favorite place, you guys. You have to come. It's like, okay, how many of you have been to Cabalar in Lancaster City? Raving fans if you've gone there, probably, right? You should go. If you like hamburgers, the onion rings are the best I've ever had in my life. Okay, that you guys are not excited. I don't understand why. Thank you. So yeah, come on. I went there for the first time on Thursday, and I was so excited. I took my coaches there on last night. I was like, let's go there. But that's what the priest does. I've just been to the presence of God so much. I just do that all the time. You guys have to come. It's the best place. The best place, right? That's the prophetic priest. The educator in the unhealthy is a know-it-all, our favorite people. And my favorite caricature of this is your Facebook during the pandemic. All right. Because it doesn't matter what you said, you're wrong. And here are 15 reasons why you're wrong and stupid. Or an election cycle. Those are fun too on Facebook, right? And that's what this educator wants to tell you. I just need to tell you these things. It's important. I want you to know because I don't want you to be in the wrong. I'm motivated by helping you understand but my motivation when I'm unhealthy is there's a weight to it. If you've ever felt somebody encourage you, might be some unhealthy priest happening there where it's like, it's like the life that was supposed to be transmitted through the truth didn't feel like love. And it was like, ooh, that was not good. That's the know-it-all. But the healthy expression of that is we've all been changed our lives by a mentor. Somebody walked with us at some point, a teacher, a leader, a fellow team member that spoke into our life, that helped us know what steps to take, that clarified when we were like, I don't know what to do next. I'm so like, well, what about this? Like, and I've been doing that for 20 years. Like that's the power of a mentor. When the educator is functioning healthily, that's what it feels like to be with them. It's amazing. They don't just give you knowledge, they give you confidence. And you're more comfortable because they've got you. I will show you the ropes. That's what the educator will do for you. And lastly, the producer. The producer is a dictator if they're unhealthy, control freak, change Nazi, inflexible, spirit killer. You've never said that about anybody, hopefully, out loud. And if you go late, if you go over, if you go off the plan, you get the death stare, like, what are you doing? This is not in planning center, friend. Right? You could be off the team, at least in their mind. But the healthy producer is an architect. And I love the picture of an architect. Somebody, look around this room. Just look around this room. Somebody designed this, put it into CAD or some program, designed the structure, the outlets, the doors, the slope of the floor. Every detail was thought about and put into practice, put into a plan, and then the builders came and took that plan and did it. That's what an architect does. And that is so powerful. It's so beautiful. Like, that's why we say that they transcend things. There's limits. We have 60 minutes on Sunday, 62, 65, 68, 75, doesn't matter how long we go. Like, we're all in the room, right? 59 minutes, 59 and a half. Just go until you're done. I'll get up and preach when God says it's enough. Like, we're all in this room, right? But the producer is able to take whatever limits that we have to work with and bypass them. Make moments of like, God had the space to do what he needed to do. We had the space to hear it, to receive it. It's amazing. All right. All the ones that we're going to cover next are not that long. That was the longest one because it's so important to be healthy and not unhealthy. So I want to make it really clear about those differences. All right. So part of what motivates us is fear. That's just the thing. So we all have a basic fear. Basic fear for the artist is to look bad, to sound bad. That's my fear. As a shepherd, I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to let people down. As a priest, I don't want to miss God or just go through the motions, be religious about that. As an educator, I don't want to be wrong or miss the point. And as a producer, I don't want to be incompetent or miss the mark. Whichever one of these faders most resonates with you could be a clue to which one is your highest fader. By the way, if you want all of these notes, they are on our website at adlibmusic.com/faders. You can download these notes. But keep taking notes if you're taking notes, because it's good. So when you're driving on the road in Kansas, anybody ever been to Kansas? Yes. Like flat, nice, big roads, farmland. That's where my parents grew up. Well, they have these long, straight roads with these big ditches on the side. My dad actually learned how to swim in those ditches. Like when they would fill up in the rainstorms, that's where he learned how to swim. Like, that's crazy, but cool. So you don't want, when you're driving down the road, you want to stay out of those ditches. You want to stay in the middle of the road, and either side, there's a ditch. So ditches for faders are very much this way. The artist is going to be perfectionistic. That's going to be your ditch to stay out of. The shepherd will be oversensitive because we care. The priest is going to be judgmental because y'all aren't doing the main thing. The educator is going to get into lecturing, and then the producer is going to micromanage every detail and squeeze the life out of anything. So if you look at your history, what ditch have you sat in before or swam in? When we're feeling anxious or uncomfortable, we defend ourselves. Those are called defense mechanisms. We construct these things, we react in a certain way to protect ourselves, and our defense mechanisms for each of these, the artist gets into contempt, which if you know anything about the 4 horsemen that destroy relationships, that's one of them. Like, that's a bad thing, because contempt says you're not valuable as a person. You're no good. Don't like you. Not worth the ground you're standing on. That's the feeling behind contempt. We don't want to live there. We don't want to go into that ditch. That's terrible. The shepherd gets into mistrust. I'm just not sure about that person. I've been burned too many times, and we can't go there. I need to defend myself by not trusting you. I'm going to reject you before you reject me. The priest gets into be like, you know what? I didn't need you anyway. I didn't need you anyway. We are no longer members one of the other in the body of Christ. Not true. I cannot be an isolationist. The educator is going to get into debate. Nothing wrong with thinking well and discussing well, but debating and just going after, and I'm going to win more than I'm going to win the relationship. Winning the point, winning the relationship. One is higher than the other. And the producer is just going to get into control. White knuckle control. And so whichever one of these feels most familiar to you is a good clue for your highest fader. So we all have a longing. Everybody has this like Neo. I'll go old school now. It's 26 years ago. And you still know who Neo is. That's pretty cool, right? All right. And Neo, there's something off in the world. I can't tell it, I can't taste it, but there's something off, right? So we all have a hidden complaint. The complaint that the artist has is, man, church music has to regain its prominence in the world of art. We can't be 3 or 4 or 5 years behind. It's just copying everything the world does, now the church is doing. We can't do that. We have to regain that prominence. The shepherd's complaint is, can't we just all get along? Why can't we be friends, right? The priest says, the Lord, I know this one, all this stuff, all this technology gets in the way. So just tiny story, we got here on Wednesday afternoon, flew into Baltimore, and we had intentionally taken no checked bags. But when we got to the gate in Costa Rica to get on the plane, they're like, oh, your bag is too big. I was like, we had to check it. Okay, they didn't charge us, praise the Lord. So we get to Baltimore, land at 3 o'clock, and at 4:30, the bags finally came out. And I was supposed to be in Reinhold's at 6. If you do the math, that's not possible. We get there at 7:40. And it was just it was crazy. So I walk in, get up on stage. I'm leading worship. I'm leading worship tomorrow. And so we were rehearsing, and the technology level that this church uses is impressive. Of course, ears, but, clicks and tracks for everything. And the page turner for the iPad down here, but I can't see that when I have my guitar on. And got the tuner that how does that work? I've never seen a tuner like that before. Wait, who's firing the tracks? Where's that pedal? It was just and I was just off the plane, late already. You are lifted high. I was just trying to get my head in it. All this technology gets in the way. I'm a little bit of a priest. An educator says, man, if you just knew what you were doing, it would go better. I wish you knew what you're doing. And the producer, of course, flying by the seat of your pants is really just filling your pants. Grow up. Unless you're wearing a diaper. So whichever one of those you dream about the most, that's probably your highest fader. But here's where the beauty really comes in. It's the big turning point in the story. We've seen some of the downsides, some of the, but here's the beauty. Because when we, and I want you to see this so clearly, because I want you to get a fire in your belly for the beauty of a healthy Five Faders team. Because this is what they bring. The value each one brings, the artist brings beauty and usefulness. And if you think beauty is not important, or in God's heart or in his nature, just go into his nature and you'll see his heart. That was a good play on words, wasn't it? Yeah. I feel like Donnie Kittle right there. Who was Donnie Kittle? Nobody? Anybody? One person. Wasn't that Donnie? Thank you. When you get into when you get into his nature, you'll see his nature. When you get into his creation, you'll see that he likes beauty a lot. If you've ever looked at the flower, if you've ever looked at a scenery, like it's just, beauty is something that the creator did, and the artist brings it. They bring it here because they're like, no, you got to hear this tone. Tone, really? Yes. Can you play that in the second inversion? Because it's just going to sound fatter. Can you play that note up there? Because it's just, like, they're bringing something in that we wouldn't necessarily, if we don't have that fader very high, we wouldn't necessarily bring that in. But beauty shows God. Order shows God, you know? And the beauty that the artist brings, but it's not just like, look at me playing guitar. Huh? Like, no. It's useful for the purpose that you're doing it for. We are called to create spaces where people can meet with God. That's why we're doing music. Meeting with the Lord, exalting his name, establishing the kingdom of God on earth. Doing that through song, teaching and admonishing as you do it with psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, right? This is our why. And that usefulness comes through the artist in the musical form. The shepherd brings a sense of unity, which is where the Lord what? Commands his blessing. It's not just he blesses his people when there's unity. No. When we are together, friends, when we are unified, the Lord commands his blessing to us. So it's important because we want to be blessed people. We want to know the fullness of what God does. But they're the ones who also create that sense of, I belong here, which is so powerful. Man, this world is more isolated since COVID than ever, since our phones than ever. You know, like I drive around a lot in Costa Rica and there's a lot of people waiting for buses and they're always like, nobody's talking to each other. You know, it's just like, it's the same here. I think people use their phones once or twice, right? So we're just an isolated culture. And to have a place in your church with fellow believers that you have a sense of belonging will change your life. It will enable your purpose and your destiny. I'm not overstating it. The priest brings a sense of devotedness or devotion and a sense of depth. Like, say with me, there's more. Now, I want you to say there's more. Now I want you to say there's a lot more. I'm telling you, what you've known of God so far, what you've experienced of him, don't be satisfied. It's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's transformative, but God has more for you. Why? How do I know that? Just look at his character, look at who he is. If you've seen the way God walks with his people, he's like, I have something. Look at heaven, look where we're going. There's more coming, y'all, and it's good. And so we can get real satisfied with the status quo, how things are. We're fine. That's the disease in churches. It's fine. But I'm telling you, man, there is more. God has more for us than we've known, than we've experienced. And I want to light that fire in you because I'm a priest. And I'm a priest also. But I'm not a high priest. That's a Five Faders joke that I might say later in the wrong way. Who's a high priest here? Okay. The educator is going to be the one that brings wisdom and capability. Capable people can do stuff. They can get stuff done. We need that. We got a lot of stuff to do. And capable people get more stuff done than incapable people. And the educator is going to bring that to your team. And lastly, the producer is going to, because they plan well, because they see the road from like A to Z, how are we getting here in that service? How are we getting here as a team? They're thinking long-term, they're thinking strategically. And so they're going to bring this sense of excellence because, without vision, you're going to die. The word of the Lord in Proverbs, right? You're going to die. You're going to perish is the fancy word, right? Without vision. And vision is brought through looking ahead and being like, where are we going? Okay, let's do that. And you can transcend the limits. So that would be so wonderful. Let's go to the one that's the healthy sense of self. So we do everything that we do from our identity. Our identity is the foundation of everything we do. So a healthy sense of self, we're going to say this. If I'm an artist, I'm creative. That's just who God made me. I love thinking differently. I love thinking a little bit outside the box. I love to create where there's not been anything there. Let's do something different. The shepherd says, with me, you're safe. I am a safe place. The priest says, I'm just given to someone else. Capital A to another. The educator says, I'm wise. I embody wisdom. And the producer says, I am prepared. Don't you want this on your team? So when you look in the mirror, which one looks the most like you? That might be your highest fader. Where attention flows, energy goes, a guy named Steve said one time to me. And I was like, ooh, that was good. But where we invest shows what we value most. So I make my investment in these places. As an artist, musicianship. That's what matters to me. I'm going to get good at my craft. Musicianship matters. The shepherd's going to value the relationships. That's what they bring to the table. The priest is going to value what I talked about at the beginning, hiddenness, before the Lord, where nobody's watching. I live with Jesus. The educator is going to value learning. How can we grow? How can we learn? And the producer is going to invest in planning, which is real similar to the next one. Our focus is, as an artist, is on the product. What are we producing here? What's the end result? The product. The shepherd's focusing on the people. The priest is focusing on the presence of God. The educator is focusing on the principles, and the producer is focusing on the process. I was so excited when they were all peas. I can't tell you how excited I was. There's a, if any of you have taken a disc test, D-I-S-C, you hear that? I bring it up because when you take it, they usually give you two results, two little graphs. You're plotted on a graph, D-I-S-C, or whatever your thing is. But they give you the natural one, like what you were most naturally at, and because you're supposed to think of a certain environment, they give you an adapted one. And hopefully they go like this. If they go like this, or something like that, where there's a gap, there's stress. All right? And so the reason I bring it up is the same thing is true with the faders. They're faders, and so we have to learn how to move them. But if I'm in an environment where I just want to sing to the Lord and free flow and spontaneous and prophetic, and I'm in a place that is like chorus 2, 3, 4, and I have no place to go, I can't even answer. I was just like, I can do that, no problem. Over time, it's going to stress me out, right? So just being aware of what environment I'm in. Sometimes I'm not at the right church because it's not me. It's the church is just a different fit for me, and I need to do something else. I need to find something that matches my faders, because I think churches have faders too. Which reminds me, since we're all adults here, if anybody needs to go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, stand up, you may absolutely do that anytime. We're not going to have a break. Just so you know, if you're waiting for a break, it's not going to happen until we go to lunch at 12 o'clock. So if you need to get up and go, anytime is fine. What do we have? Favorite music? Do we have that one up there? Okay, there we go. This is tongue-in-cheek, y'all, just so you know. Right? But the artist is anything that I've never heard of. The shepherd might be into like Vineyard. I'm not really sure. Priest, maybe Maverick City, Upper Room. I know there's some more cutting edge little things but that's a pretty good starting place. The educator, Sovereign Grace, City of Light. I'm not sure if I spelled City of Light right. Or just hymns, that's cool. Or the producers into Elevation or Bethel, especially Elevation. Like they just do great stuff. But let me just quickly dispel a little myth, because there's a myth probably even in your head that says this. Right? Only artists make excellent music. Again, the faders aren't job descriptions. They're not hats that you wear. The faders are the motivation, the lens that you see the world through. We also have to do the same thing. Be easy to work with, plan, communicate with each other, play the right notes, like lead worship, like say the things. We all have to do all that stuff, but it's how we do it that determines our fader. So you can be an excellent musician, you can be an artist and be unhealthy and create some not very good music because you've been a jerk to the people on your team and they don't want to play that well with you. There's one possibility. So that's been like a comparative view of the 5 faders. And we do that way so you can see them in contrast to each other. Now, good news is I have finished the manuscript for the 5 faders book. 7 years coming. So I just have to tell you, this concept was dropped in our laps in a coaching session with a church, and Jen was the priest fader, the archetype. So I'm like, this is fun. So that book is coming out, and in that book, the format is basically, here's a healthy fader, artist fader, here's an unhealthy artist fader, here's how to work with that fader, and here's the super important part, here's how to turn your fader up when you need it, and here's how to turn your fader down when it's necessary. So that's kind of the format of the book beyond the overall explanation and how things work, but we're excited to be working on that, and it's in the editing stages. So, let's look for a second. This is a little interactive moment here in terms of like, which is our highest fader. So I want to, I'm not going to do a show of hands. I'm going to have you stand up if artist you think is probably your highest fader. Now, hold on, before you do that, I think this always happens, and I sometimes I forget a little bit about it, but you might think like, if I stand up, my team's going to be like, you're not very good. Right? I didn't say who's an excellent musician, stand up. I said who is motivated by making things beautiful, who pays attention to the nuance, all the things that we talked about that artist does. Same thing as, like when I was first trying to put words to this, I called the priest a worshiper, and I was like, that's a problem, right? But there's no judgment. We're just trying to figure things out, because here's what we're doing. One of the best ways to learn is to learn from each other about the faders. And so it's important to know the people on your team, what their motivations are. So if your artist you think is probably the highest, go ahead and stand up for me. Yes. Yeah, that's great. How does it feel, guys? Does it feel good to stand up as artists? Feels terrible? I hate it. You can sit down. All right, good. That's about, I'm going to say 28%. That's my rough guess. Okay, who is shepherd? Stand up. I would say equal. Equal 28%. That looks good. All right, good. Thank you, shepherds. Appreciate you being here today. Priests, stand up. You were a little bit slower in getting up, but I'm going to say 26%. All right, just almost the same, but a little bit, tiny bit less. Educator, here's a really crickets one. Unexpected. Nice, like 13, 14%. Okay, good. Excellent. And lastly, producers. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen quite that even of a distribution, right? Like, that's pretty cool. All right, thank you, producers. So you were the ones that were annoyed that we started exactly what time we started at, and you're like looking back at the screen to see if they have the countdown thing for each section, the timers. All right. So I need some willing interaction here. I would like to know somebody why you chose what's the evidence that you thought, this is probably my highest fader, to share with us so we can just learn from that. And tips that are given well are like, oh, like have you ever been frustrated because you don't know quite what to play, and then somebody teaches you? You're like, oh, I can do that. Thank you. All right, back here, yeah. How are we getting from here to here? I need to know. Like, how many of your rehearsals include practicing the transition? How many of you show up mid-set, you're like, oh, I forget. We didn't even think about how to get from here to here. We had some discussions last night about, well, how are we going to get from A to A flat? What are we going to do to go, I'm curious. How did this is now that we're far enough away from that moment, when we went from crowns down into you're worthy of it all, did that feel like a weird transition, or did that feel like good? It was all right? Okay, because it was the kind of thing that at first, when we first tried it, because we were in the key of A and we went to the key of D for worthy of it all. And if you stayed in the key of A and just started singing worthy, it was a dream. It felt so right, but we wanted to do it in D, and so that's why we were like, Jimmy, I think, had the idea, the producer among us, was like, what if we do this? What if we play the little melody from the other part of the song as get your ear to go to the new place, and then Cindy can just start singing. We practiced that transition, is my point. All right, what else? And that is such a necessary piece. Like sometimes I think worship leaders aren't that effective because they've not known that shepherd piece to know that we're limited in our energy level, unless you're Caspian at 7 years old and then he just goes. He's a great kid. We have a limited energy, and if all my energy is what I'm playing and what I'm doing and how we this and that, and I don't leave energy for, come on guys, let's do this. Or if I don't leave energy in my planning for that key's not going to work. I know Joe can't sing that high. Joe out in the congregation can't sing that high. Because I care, because I'm noticing the people in my room are not the people that the elevation crowd was leading. Right? But as a shepherd, I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to take my passion and walk it out, activate it. Yeah, and I love that our artist was the bass player, because I'm going to say this once or twice. If you're bored playing bass, you're doing it wrong. It's one of the funnest instruments to play. Totally fun. Now with a cheap rig like a tiny bass amp, it's not as fun, or if you're out of tune or you have really bad action, anyway. Some of the priest function is warfare, intercession. What are we doing that you can't see with our eyes, that you can't feel or hear with our ears? There's another dimension that we're impacting and influencing. And being aware of that, I'm just going to pray for my brother I know he's dealing with this, and so I'm going to sing this line of this song over him that's a priest function. Fader. One of the core biblical truths of worship. I don't want to do it if it doesn't cost me. It's not really a sacrifice. So that's the example from David. How about some? Let's flip the other side. And which one is your lowest fader? So stand up, because it's good to keep yourself moving. And we're going to go backwards. Stand up, and if producer is your lowest. Hallelujah! I'm just kidding. I am. It's tongue in cheek, but I'm like, I usually say plan ahead, but it's not really. You don't that's really redundant. You catch my perspective. All right, good. Producer is your lowest. All right, producers that are healthy create structure to support life. Yeah. Producers that are unhealthy create structure that squeezes the life out of stuff, right? Even the gift that they were supposed to bring turned to not dust. And just so that you, like, I'm not a producer. Producer's pretty low for me. Priest is pretty high for me. But if you look at creation and what the Creator has done and woven into the fabric of the very world that we live in, you will see order and detail everywhere. You cannot tell me that God is chaotic and unplanned, because he's certainly not. But we don't want to squeeze the life out of something just because it's our control. All right. So who is the lowest is, I don't usually go backwards, so it's throwing me off. Educator. Educator's your lowest. I'm like, that is not me. I'm not. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Stand on up if you are low. If your lowest is a priest. All the priests, can you go ahead and go pray for them? And I'm kidding. That's terrible. All right, so somebody tell me why. Why is priest your lowest?
Need more of that, what did you call it, the alone time?
Hiddenness. Yeah. I mean.
Doesn't include people.
Yeah. But isn't it more fun to go to your favorite restaurant with friends than go by yourself? Right? So if you go down to the Pinnacle and go look at the overlook out there, it is actually, that's cool. That's a bad example because that's great to do by yourself. Never mind. Strike that. All right. Sometimes I ad lib and it works and sometimes it doesn't. Who is lowest shepherd? I'm standing up right now. All right. So why don't you care about people? No, I'm just kidding. Why don't I care about people? Well, like as a lowest shepherd fader, like my Galatians 1:10 is one of my favorite verses. Anybody know what it says? Something like, if I was still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. I'm like, yes, amen to that. I'm not pleasing anybody. I don't care. All right, we all have our edges. And the last is, if artist is your lowest, go ahead and stand up. And somebody tell me why.
Slow us down.
Wow. All right. Well, we're about to switch into the next section, but I want you to think about something, because this is a roadmap for discipleship, not just a little curious, fun thing, right? So the next slide, I think, says, take your highest fader. Yeah, take your highest fader, back to your highest one, and rate yourself. If 10 is like, dude, I'm very healthy, I'm resourceful, I'm integrated, as it would say, Enneagram speak, to I am pretty unresourceful, disintegrated, I'm pretty unhealthy, I'm not doing great. So think about that for a second for for your highest one. And then, is there one way that you know that you know what? I could improve. I could grow more like Jesus if I would start doing this. And it's really, it's not like rocket science. It's pretty simple. Like if I don't know, if like you mentioned about having grace for people, if I'm unhealthy and I've been too much of a guardian, too much of a bouncer in my team, what if I had a conversation with sometimes we don't like other people. It's just me and you. Come on, man. Sometimes we're not drawn. We don't feel a connection with other people. See, that's kinder. And sometimes it's our sound guys and gals, right? And sometimes it's the divas on stage that our sound guys are mixing. Let's be fair. And I've had one guy's like, man, I'm not getting along with and happened to be the sound guy. I know that doesn't usually happen, but it really should never happen. And I asked him this question, because he was like, how am I supposed to get along with them? I said, what did you eat the last time you guys had dinner together? And of course, he's never eaten a meal with him in his life. Why would I want to do that? Like, well, your working relationship is failing because you don't have a relationship with them. You gotta be like, so I might have some things, there's always things, but what's a step I can take? What's one way, and raise your hand if you have something, you don't need to say it, but just raise your hand if you have something in mind of one way, something that you could do to become a better version of yourself, to become more healthy in your highest fader. I'll just wait, and we'll wait until everybody's hand is up.